welcome to CX Today. I'm Susie Harrison, Senior Content Editor, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Jamie Snadden, who is Managing Director, EMEA at 8x8. So thank you for joining me, Jamie.
Morning, Susie. Nice to be speaking with you today.
Great. So today we're going to be exploring some of the next big trends that you guys are coming down the pipeline. So with that, what do you think the biggest trend is now, and where do you think it will take us next?
So the trend that we're seeing most of all is customers really looking at vendors like 8x8 to help them improve their CX, as well as hitting these other two items as well. How does AI fit into that? How can I be more efficient? How can I be more effective? So, and looking at that slightly another way, how can we use a range of solutions that you offer in order to solve complex problems that we have? That can achieve these goals. So what we're seeing is, one of the biggest trends we're seeing is the concepts such as UCaaS, CCaaS, CPaaS are kind of being lost now and being blended as customers are looking at solutions, maximizing a technology and finding solutions that can help solve these very intricate problems that they face in order to stay competitive, in order to really work on their customer experience that they need to show in order to maintain their customer base. For us, it's really around how can we make improvements in their communication workflows using a lot of this technology, and that's where AI comes in, and we talk about trends. AI is the biggest trend, but it's been a buzzword. There's a lot of hype. I think everybody and their dog is an AI company at some stage. In the market, in reality, you're seeing we have seen a kind of stuttered approach to adoption on AI. Just whilst the tech's been in its nascent form and customers are getting comfortable with, well, how does it work and how does it actually fit in with my other priorities around really maximizing CX and being able to provide me efficiency gains and productivity gains. And I think people have originally thought it would just be, oh, that's great, we can stick a bot in and we'll save some money, but it's not that, it's more than that. What we're seeing is that, whilst we're solving these problems, these specific problems customers have with a range of technology solutions, AI fits within that mold to actually help the agent experience as well as help the customer experience. And we're starting to see that really accelerate now, and you're seeing customers becoming a lot more comfortable with the technology.
And you've mentioned using AI to improve customer experience. How, or sort of what areas are you seeing that customers are primarily adopting AI in CX?
Yeah, it's a good question. As I mentioned, AI has been a buzzword for a long time now. People use it in taglines. You have lots of companies out there that are very reputable AI companies. Others, sort of use AI as a buzzword to try and as a marketing tool. And so it's taken time for the market to really figure out how best to utilize these tools that we all know as well. We know the history and some of the early products that hit the market. You had articles in newspapers from a consumer perspective about chatbot nightmares and things like that. So there's been a historical reluctance to expose this technology to customer bases. What we're seeing now, though, is the technology is starting to prove itself. So that fear now is being overcome, whereas customers can now see very valid solutions in the marketplace working. And typically how that's progressed is by really starting slow, picking out an AI tool to help solve a particular use case, a problem that customer has. And it allows the tool to learn, it allows the tool to grow. And by doing so, then you can then move on to other use cases and start exposing that technology. And what we're seeing is customers are really liking that, and it's starting to see growth where they're exposing it more and more to more complex customer problems. The other area where we're seeing it grow quite considerably is in agent assist, where they're using the technology to help their internal teams, real-time transcription, agent assistance, those sort of tools. That was probably the first use case that was really adopted by customers as they, it was easier for them to adopt it and prove it within their internal teams before they expose this technology to their customer base. And we're seeing that really start to accelerate now. So you have this combination of of AI tools which not only help the human agent and make the experience with the human agent and their experience of solving that problem a lot stronger. You're also seeing now a growth in the proliferation of customer-facing AI solutions as well, and that's what we're seeing.
And I think you touched there on the sort of slight nervousness that customers might have about deploying AI or giving it too much free rein, and I think that persists. But as the technology becomes more embedded in our everyday lives, I think we're actually going to rely on it more and more.
Yes.
And I think the security and regulations globally really haven't been completely pinned down. And obviously, the technology is changing, so the regulations have to change very quickly. How do you think the vendor landscape is going to change as those regulations and security concerns change? And it perhaps, with the US election coming up, there will probably be some changes to, AI regulations, particularly in the US. So what do you think? How do you think this is going to impact on that vendor landscape?
Yeah, look, I mean, that's a very good question. And again, the technology now is what typically happens is the technology races too far ahead and the regulation struggles to catch up or keep up. You are starting to see the regulatory landscape now start catching up with AI. So you're seeing more and more regulatory changes across, particularly the Western world. You flag presidential elections, elections anywhere around the world, and the fear around how these can be manipulated. There's the fear around how this technology can actually be used for really nefarious, uses, such as crime and fraud. I'm sure many people are familiar with deep fakes and the ability to be able to use fraud. And fraud it's the fastest growing industry in the world at the moment. So we are seeing a lot of regulatory focus on making sure that the technology cannot be used for those circumstances. So, you are going to find, I feel certainly in the AI space, a sort of funneling of vendors between those who have the capabilities to keep up with the regulatory requirements that are going to be placed on them and those that just, are unable to do so as this becomes more and more stringent. And I don't think it's just related to AI. I think in the CX space generally, we're seeing more and more complexity when it comes to voice, not just AI. Technology and telephony regulatory changes are really starting to impact how vendors can operate, particularly when they're operating a lot of different solutions, such as messaging, such as voice calling, whether it's inbound or it's outbound. And what you're seeing then is that regulators are becoming a lot tighter in who can place messages, where they're going to be coming from, who can place calls, where these calls can come from, and they're putting more of the responsibility on carriers, on vendors, and that's making it a lot harder as well. So infrastructure costs are going up, staying on top of these regulations are going up, being able to connect a globally dispersed world is becoming harder and harder. And I think the net effect of all of that is you're going to find key specialists who are able to navigate that regulatory landscape and be able to assist, almost be like a middle person to assist vendors and customers in overcoming these regulatory issues, as well as probably a narrowing down of vendors to those who are really, who are capable of being able to stay on top of these regulatory changes because they're coming thick and fast.
And in that new landscape, you mentioned that part of maintaining a competitive advantage is keeping abreast of those regulatory changes. Do you have any other sense of how people can maintain or seize a competitive advantage in this new vendor ecosystem?
Yeah, look, it's a really good question. And look, from a regulatory perspective, absolutely. I think being able to kind of stay ahead, be on top of and stay ahead some of these regulatory changes and make sure that you're building a solution that can accommodate these changes come through, I think is really, really important. Coupled with that, I think just as the technology generally, I made the comment earlier in the interview around the breaking down of barriers between traditional UCaaS, traditional CCaaS, traditional CPaaS, whereas customers now are not looking at these kind of point solutions anymore. I think really where the competitive advantage is being able to go in and identify CX problems that customers are facing and offering a solution, which can be, you know, one of those software solutions, or it can be a blend of these software solutions, being able to utilize the strength of AI to be able to solve that particular problem in an efficient manner, which improves customer experience, improves employee experience, and it allows the customer or the buyer to really maintain an efficient business. And that's really where what they're concerned about. How do I navigate this complexity without adding more and more complexity into my business, which ultimately will spill over to a bad customer experience? How can we solve those customer problems, but try and keep it as simple as possible? And I think that's where vendors are really going to be able to stand out. Can they offer solutions that are simple, easy to deploy, solve problems, and are not pigeonholed into these traditional, you know, point solutions or categories which are fast becoming out of date? I think that's going to be really important, and not just from a customer perspective. I think this is really important from a channel perspective. Vendors like rely heavily on our channel partners, and this complexity, this marketplace where customers are now almost deferring that complexity onto their channel partner and saying, I need you to solve this problem. The channel partners are going to require their vendors to be able to come in and help them navigate that landscape and offer these solutions in an easily consumable way that shows real value.
Yeah, I think there's sort of some upskilling to be done, perhaps in the channel as well, that as you know, these things evolve. Well, thank you so much, Jamie, for joining me today. It's been great talking to you. I'm sure this is not the last conversation we'll be having with AI.
Yeah. A nice to talk to you today, Susie.
Yeah, and thank you to our viewers for watching as well. If you like this video, please do like and subscribe to the channel, and of course keep an eye on cxtoday.com for more stories like these. So thank you, Jamie, and thank you to everybody.
Thank you, Susie. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.